Hey guys, Deb the Awesome here to give you a Monster Legends Progression Island monster video. So basically, I'm just going to be talking about the monsters in the event for Guardians of Earth Island. And yeah, so basically, how Progression Island works is it's pretty much well, you can get in all honesty, you can get stuff. You get stuff for free by just collecting the items, doing your pull times every 8 hours. The 8 hours for the egg stuff, 4 hours for everything else. In terms of breeding, the breeding items like breed monsters and hatch eggs, that's 8 hours. The everything else though is pretty much 4 hours. Uh, words, and yeah. But to sum it all up, really, like the progression islands is basically though get monsters at your own price. It's like Discount Island, pretty much, for stuff new and old. But again, you can literally get monsters. You don't have to necessarily spend a bunch of gems or any gems at all. Just keep in mind, you can't really just get everything. That's not really a thing. Some of the like to get some of the monsters, especially the monsters at the end, you do need to spend some gems at specific times. The more items you collect, the lower the price goes down for said monster. uh, on Monster Wiki, just look up Monster Wiki. Go to that site. It will tell you how long each mission takes. Right now, for this mission right here, Fighter and Winheart right here. Watson Hart, I mean, Watson Hart, I mean, those are 3 days and I think it was like 18 hours, I believe, in order to get their mission done. And this is a 10-day event, mind you. If you didn't know this, this last monster here, Kiradar, Kiradar takes 5 days in terms of like mission time. It takes 5 days and plus some odd hours to complete. So it's that mission's kind of nuts. So basically, you just have to, yeah, you kind of have to get like pretty much all the other monsters done within the span of 5 days to even get a chance to get this thing. But yeah. It's pretty much the monster everybody wanted because the monster's really good. We'll get to that as soon as we get to her. But we're going to start left to right. I'm sorry this video wasn't made on the day that the event started. Trust me, I really wanted to do this video or get it done right away. I've been busy with, college stuff. Finals week coming up, at least finals anyway. And then I'm working on the play I'm in, Hansel and Gretel, at Inver Hills Community College. So yeah, we're gonna get right into this now. So starting up, the rare monster for this event. There's a rare for every event, pretty much. Hey, get away from there. There is a rare for every event, and Nanook is the rare for this one. This is the first time this has ever happened. Pretty much the rare you get right off the bat. You don't even need to waste any time. Once you log in, collect all your food, collect your gold, you get it. This thing is basically free. You get it right off the bat, just like that. There's no wait. I mean, like in terms of mission, this is the fastest mission, and it takes no time at all, and you just get him. So how good is Nanook? Nanook is really good because he's immune to freeze. He has an AOE freeze. He has an AOE blind. And some dazing too, so he can possibly get someone blinded and dazed for at least a turn. That's really cool. Ranked up, obviously, if you rank this guy up in time, this is going to be an awesome rare. I haven't really seen his cells in the shop yet. In terms of cell sales is when you can buy a bunch of rare monster cells for gold, and the other monsters too. Half off for gem cells and all that jazz. Basically, that's the time you stockpile on rare cells, and you should totally do that for all the monsters because it doesn't cost that much to max out on them. In terms of like, you can get at max, you can get 200 cells. Totally just straight up buy 200 cells in that time period for that rare monster. You're just using gold for rare monsters for that time. You should totally invest in this dude. Lapu. Besides being a rare monster, not words, rare monster. I mean, being a rare epic monster. This thing hasn't really been in events all that much. words to say about this thing. This thing is cool because it's got an AoE life regen. AoE life regen is really sweet. Not only does it do that, it also removes negative effects. So if you're under any DOT or any of your monsters on DOTs, you can clear them up with that move, and it heals them that next turn. So you don't suffer from any initial damage. That's kind of the one thing like that guy can top over like the current legendaries that have AoE life regen. A lot of them don't initially clear anything when they apply it. Like Demise, for example, she has an AoE that removes all negative effects too, but it takes two. That's you have to use the life regen move, and then the next turn you have to use the remove effects. It's, again, timing. So it doesn't really do that. Plymouth can do a damage to a single target and give everybody on your team life regen. But again, that doesn't clear the negative effects. Gretchen can give AoE life regen, but doesn't clear negative effects too. You get my point. This rare monster is capable of AoE life regen and also clearing debuffs. Really sweet monster. Other things about it is he has a single target heal move. He can single targetly heal for 50% of that target's health. Really nice, really sweet. I think he does damage reduction too, so that's also great. Avoids your team from being pub stomped by the enemy attacker if you can do that in the span of the time before that monster attacks. So that's really cool. If you can play it out like that, it works for your benefit. Fireteer, this is the first legendary you get. In all honesty, this is the monster you get for free. This is the free legendary monster. If you choose not to spend any gems in this event, this monster is pretty much the thing everybody can get. Now, all the legendary monsters, and for this event specifically, all have the same, well, not all of them, him and Watson Hart, they share the same time period of the mission, which is 3 days and 18 hours. Basically, if you started this in the beginning, again, yeah, you should for sure get this thing. This is doable. I imagine this being doable in the span of 10 days. You should be able to get him, pretty much for free. Is this monster great? If you looked up on Monster Wiki and actually just typed in Monster Legends definition of cool, you'd see this guy in the front of it. You will see this guy in the front of it. I'm over exaggerating or saying it'd be funny, but this guy's really cool. 1, he's a tree guy. 2, he's a tree guy with axes. And 3, he's a tree guy with axes with moss hide for camouflage. Is that not cool or what? I'm totally gonna name mine. Man, I had a really clever name too. It wasn't Groot. I'm sure a lot of people are gonna call him Groot. I think I was gonna call him Woody. I think I was gonna call him Woody. I can't remember the name, but I think it was a clever name. It was a clever name. I can't remember the name at the moment. But getting back to what this monster does, basically this is a monster capable of doing some pretty exponential DOT damage. Being the fact he's got an AoE that's spammable too, mind you. It's a spammable AoE that can spread poison and bleeding. The only problem with it doesn't do any initial damage. I think that was meant for balancing. I think that was just meant for balancing, and I think in another way, maybe they should have just had it do a little damage. I think because that way, because all the nature monster would really have to do, it's just straight up heal. Nature monsters are known to carry 30% heal moves. I will say though, this counters life regen. That if the monster isn't immune to poison, it pretty much guarantees them they're not gonna benefit from their life regen. Another problem with that is though, there's a lot of monsters that are immune to poison in terms of nature monsters that people like to use, namely Judgment, Plymouth, and what was the third one? I can't remember at the moment, but there's another one. I think it's non-Om was not immune to poison. I can't remember what the third one was at the moment, but there's a third one that's immune to poison that people love using. But beyond that, though, it's solid against Ulcus. That's a solid thing. And let's see, Ulcus, and I think Sarah too. I think he can do well against Sarah too in terms of doing DOT damage. Wait, I take that back though. He's got the AoE shield. I don't know. But anyway, it's neat. It's neat DOT damage is all you gotta know. He also got a single target move that does the same thing, poison and bleeding, which is really awesome. It's another bonus thing about it. 20%. It's pretty much 20% life, and 38 less damage they'll do. Or at least 38% of it for the next 4 turns. So that's really cool. Beyond that, oh, okay, yeah, one more thing about him. He has a 45 damage AoE, which is also really nice. Special damage too, so great for just damaging everybody. He also's got a self heal, great for when you're possessed. Beyond that, yeah, he's kind of a lot of people aren't excited for this thing. Because the other nature monster you can get, the last nature monster, the last legendary of this event, greatly just overshadows him. And I think that's kind of, I think you should, if you do get this thing, I think you should, just respect. It is a really respectable monster. It's not a bad monster. Uh, it just doesn't do as much of a skill as the last monster in the event does, which is pretty ridiculous. And I feel like they're gonna nerf it. I feel like it's a monster that they're gonna nerf at like near the end of the event. That wouldn't be the first time they've done it, where they nerf a monster near the end of the event. Example would be the Yendra breeding event. Like halfway through, they nerfed the living crap out of it into non-existent. Uh, but yeah, we'll get to that later. But yeah, Fighter Tree, really decent monster, totally get him. Uh, Fightier, I mean, I just said Fight Tree. Fightier, totally get him. Really cool design, really cool concept, all of coolness. This guy's the definition of cool. Remember that. uh, Korim. This is a koala soldier monster. He's an epic. This is basically a really tanky monster, and he's pretty much second place to this guy right here, uh, Prig Genius. Pretty much what the koala guy can do anyway. He has a protection move, so he can taunt the enemy into attacking him and not, your other monsters. That is, a nice thing and bad thing at the same time. One, you're kind of risking your epic dying. The second is, you keep damage off. You get specifically single target damage off your legendary monsters, so they can do their thing. Legendary the other two monsters are usually the one that get rid of everyone else on the team. So you do need to keep those in good shape, so you can protect those. The koala guy can. And a few nitpicky things though. If you had like the mammoth monster already, you should just stick with using that. Because Pergenius has a spammable. Not only does he have a spammable life regen, so he's out there the whole time. He also has a spammable 30% heal. Basically, if you have life runes on this thing won't die on you. Plus, he also has an AoE stun, which the koala thing does not have. And he also has a healing move, a great supporting move, in that he can give 50% shield to a target and also give them life regen. So basically, if you have this, to be perfect, in all perfect honesty, this isn't a necessary thing to have. But if you have it, you get it in the event, cool. It just gives you another tanky monster. But this, in my opinion, is just overshadowed by Pergenius. This is nonetheless a tanky monster though. Give it life runes, and it won't die on you. It won't tip over, unless it's just a really long fight and you just can't control it anymore. Uh, Okay, Watson Heart. This is the water legendary that you get in the event. I really like this thing. At first, I thought this was a single-oriented monster. It really isn't. It actually does have an AoE. I thought all the moves were single target. It has one AoE, and I think it's a really great AoE too, because the cooldown on it is a 2-turn cooldown, and it does 40 damage, and it's cool. So basically, there's a few things you can do. I like to think of this guy as like the water Braum of Monster Legends. If you ever played like League of Legends, Braum, that character. Yeah, this is pretty much Braum. He doesn't do any like of the because I just say that because he has a shield too. He's a cool. He's a knight. He protects the sea creatures, and I think it's pretty epic. I'm gonna name him Braum. I'm excited for it. Yeah, I'm excited for it. Basically, what this guy does, he's playstyle is he sets oil. I don't know if you've played the game long enough to notice this, but there are monsters in the game that can apply like an effect where they do specific nature damage, and it does 80% more damage. Or like they can ignite them, or pretty much light stick them. This is basically, he has an ability that it fixes, it's a single target move. It's not an AoE, sadly, but it pretty much makes everybody weak, or makes a single target weak to water attacks. and he has a lifesteal move that's 50% lifesteal back. But if you've ignited somebody and you do that move, you are getting way more life back, and you're doing a lot of damage because the base damage on it is 50 damage. That plus the ignition damage, it's a lot of damage. uh, so I'm laughing a lot and all that jazz. I'm gonna take a drink of water. Uh, get kind of chattery when I'm excited to talk about this stuff. I've actually, to believe it or not, just taking a tad bit of before I continue, I've actually done this video a lot. I kept getting interrupted yesterday. In terms of doing it, I was working on it yesterday, and interruptions and all that jazz. Now I'm not really. Watson Hart, another more stuff about Watson Hart is his ultimate is a single target based 65 damage move that also sets the person on fire, and it also gives them a 50% shield. Basically, this guy's a really tanky monster, and if he gets time to do his ignition setup, he does a lot of damage too. So that offers you a chance to build a few different ways with this monster. You don't necessarily have to do the two strengths at a life. I mean, not two strengths at a speed. You can kind of branch out. You could probably do the extra guy build to take advantage of like all of the stats. Bump everything up. The higher the runes, the better this thing is going to run. You could run two speeds and a life rune specifically, why this build would be an alright build is you want to make sure the reason why you're putting two speeds on it is so you can ignite the monsters that's the denier specifically, so it doesn't go away. So your debuff doesn't go away right away because that's your main damage. That's how you get your damage out. You need to ignite them, and then you do your next attack, and it does a lot of damage. That's the point with this monster. Another few things about him is he has a single target freeze, so he can deny. It does a lot of damage if you ignite him. That's kind of the playstyle of this monster. Another reason why he is great because he has a 2-turn AoE. I brought this up in the beginning. Basically, 2-turn AoEs. The cooldown, there's a huge difference in the cooldown time between a 2-turn AoE and a 3-turn AoE. It was like, damn, it's only a turn difference, but that can actually matter in a fight. If you can constantly get your AoE back up again, that's huge. That is really great, and it benefits a fight greatly. I will say if it did like an effect too, that's a bonus. I would say if it applied the ignition, like if it can apply his you take 80% more from water damage, that would be huge. That would do so much damage, and the amount of damage you'll do, it's ridiculous. And you can actually combo this. You can combo like the elemental weakness stuff with Invar's discouragement AoE. Invar is a light general monster. You should really get him. Really great competitive monster. Lots of buffs and debuffs. You can combo it with that and just do extreme amount of damage. Man, and you'll always be doing super effective damage, and that pretty much works for anything that can apply elemental advantage ignition. Really, with Invar's 50% more damage to light and special damage moves. So pretty much he's always going to do super effective damage. That's one combo you may do. But going back to the 2 speeds and the life rune, the reason why that really works is because he can kind of play off it. He can again, he can do the ignition and then do the water move. And maybe he might maybe he just probably will wipe it at that point. Obviously, with that build though, if you're running the life rune in 2 speeds, you obviously won't one hit right away. But since a lot of players in the game don't usually put life runes on the monster, I feel like that would work. That's just an option you can do. I'm gonna make a guide on this monster later today to give you like a full explanation of how this guy really works. My personal thoughts, how you can play him. But overall, I think this is a really nice monster. I think, in all honesty, with all the monsters in this event, all of them are great competitive monsters. All of them can do really well, and they're not bad. They're really great competitive monsters. So going on to the next guy. This guy, I will say before I move on to the next guy, this might be if you were to just not spend a dime on this entire event, this might be the last possible monster. You maybe have to spend a few gems, but this might be the last monster you could get without spending gems. I'm not 100% sure on that. but based on like mission timings, I think this is the last one. This is possibly the last one, but you have to get all your your items done right. This is the last possible one you could get done. Roracle has been up a few times in events, specifically cell dungeons and breeding events. Uh, Basically, this is a really good water epic, a really popular one. AoE freeze, single target freeze. I can't remember beyond what it does from there. I think he does have a lifesteal move, so that's really cool. Um, I just know he's really popular. I don't think I have mine fully done yet. I named my Oracle after a monster in Monster Rancher. That's a really great RPG. Really, it's kind of like it's way old. It's like a PlayStation game, and they have a few DS titles nowadays, and other various old consoles like PS2. I think there was one for GameCube at some point. But mainly just PlayStation and Nintendo DS. It's kind of where it's at for that. I named mine after a monster called Zilla, which is cool. Big old, just if you don't know what it is, just look up Monster Rancher Zilla, and it's just a big whale monster. It's really cool. So now we have reached the last monster in the event. It is a nature monster, Kiridar. Basically, this thing took a page from the Ringer, and she does a lot of damage. She also is apparently a pupil to Plymouth because she also adapted the natural toxins if debuff that she can apply to everybody. It's an AoE that does 45 damage and makes everybody weak to nature attacks. This is huge because all of her stuff is nature damage, for one thing, and another thing, they don't hit lightly to begin with. In terms of like anticipation for a really really huge competitive monster in the nature category, this monster is like boom. This is the thing, like, this is pretty much nature Voltic. I can imagine this, just like in a month or two, people will say, oh, just use this monster. This is the only monster that matters. I can imagine people saying that. It's because of how powerful she is. In terms of damage output, her damage output is stupid. Because not only does she, again, with the 45 damage AoE, that she could cause, natural damage, she has another one, 45 damage, and it gives her damage boost too. So realistically speaking, at some point everything dies. It just does. There's just too much damage at that point. If she can get the time to set up for that, it's never a good thing. For the enemy, that is. It's great for you, but the enemy, it's no bueno. It is no good. The single target moves that you do, like in terms of just like the meta build for the two moves is I think it was like a 60 damage and a 70 damage move. Is like either 60 damage, 65 damage, and a 70. It's totally a 70 damage move for one of them, and the other is a 60 or 65 damage move. That one stuns. The 70 damage move blinds. So it causes it causes two huge debuffs too. It's kind of hard to fight this thing if you don't clear it right away. I think the only nitpicky thing about it is you could say is it's not really tanky. It's got like 28k. Most nature monsters, like if it's like as long as it's not like a deny, if it's like an actual thing, they tend to be tanky. I feel like this is a tank breaker though, so I don't think it matters. You should probably, if you're gonna run a defensive one, run the extra guy build of a strength, life, and speed. This makes it so she can stay out there longer. And in all honesty, you don't really need that second strength rune if you did like the 2 strength rune build, because at some point she does so much damage naturally. You don't really need it anymore. You don't need that second strength rune. You can run the second, you can run 2 strengths and a speed when you're just using it just as a main attacker, just to for sure just clean everything up after doing those 2 AoEs. But yeah, for a defensive build, you should do the extra guy build. That's all I have to say about that. This was pretty much the monster everybody wanted, and it doesn't surprise me it's the last one. This is a statement, it's just general. It doesn't surprise me this is the last one. It just doesn't. Sorry I'm laughing a lot. I'm trying to think of more stuff to say. Oh, okay, another thing about this monster. if it gets nerfed, don't be surprised. I feel like this monster might see a nerf. It wouldn't surprise me if it did. Just straight up the bat, it wouldn't surprise me if it did get nerfed because a lot of its stuff is really powerful. You just gotta take the time to realize this thing does a lot of damage. It does so much natural damage. I can't not see it not being nerfed. The single target moves have high damage, just like a one turn cooldown. Okay, you guys can't see that getting nerfed. I can see that getting nerfed. It's just the thing. I feel like this thing is gonna get rained down upon where it's rained down upon with the nerf hammer. It's either gonna target they're either gonna target the stats and the moves or just both. I just see that being a thing. You should totally get this thing. I will say you should totally get this thing when it does come out on sale. Because it's a great defensive monster. People love using Lamu. Lamu has a spammable possession skill, and if you have this on defense, it just like they can't use that. The only time they could probably only use that if it's like the other defending monster is something immune to that's not immune to possession. If there's two monsters immune to possession on defense, they can't really run to Lamu. Another thing is, obviously the counter to this monster is use something that stuns. But, another huge thing about this monster, you can't really chain deny it. Unless it's like a, warrior that has, like, freezing. There's no way you can chain deny it. Because stun only lasts you can only stun someone once. Then next turn they get immunity to stun. So you can't, chain stunning is never a thing. You can stamina drain it. That's totally doable too. I will say that's probably the only bothersome about like this monster that can bother it is stunning and possession, and other like advanced techniques. You could use glitches, corruption skill. I think that's huge. That'd be a great way to counter this monster. Is doing advanced possessions. And or like mega stunning, just keeping it off from doing anything. Because if this thing can pull off any combo or just do anything in general, it's gonna do damage. Whatever it does. It took a page for like in terms like the AOE, amount of AOE damage, it's like learned from Ringer because Ringer has like a 70 damage AOE, considered the king of AOEs in the game, in terms of like the amount of AOE damage. And then she picked up a page from Plymouth. Plymouth was the first one to cause natural sickness, or like the debuff, whatever that debuff is called. I think it was like natural toxins. I think that was the debuff. What it was called. 80% more damage from those moves. But yeah, this thing just does so much damage. I can see this thing getting nerfed. I just see it. Yeah, I think that does it for in terms of explaining everything. If you have a comment or a question, just say it down below, and I'll answer that question. Or if I don't answer it, that's probably because I don't know, I didn't feel like answering it. But if I see it, I might answer it, and all that jazz. Overall, I think this is a great event compared to the last one, the 80s Island event. I feel like there's more hype for this one. This one has like really cool design monsters, really cool competitive styles here, really great stuff you can use. I feel like the time I hate the fact it's a 10-day event. It's bothersome. If it was a 12-day or 13-day event, I'd be more confident in the fact you might be able to get everybody in the time given. But I feel like for this one, you just kind of crunched. I feel like everybody's going to be crunched on time. You're not going to be able to get everything in the event unless you spend quite a bit of few gems at the end. But yeah, this is pretty much have fun with it. I'm Dib the Awesome, and I'll catch you guys later.